This is Breaking Down Security for July 17th, 2015, and I'm Brian Brake. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for downloading and listening to the podcast. This is Breaking Down Security, and we're at the world headquarters here. And for the first time ever, all of the people on the podcast are in the same time zone. Mr. Boettcher is on something called vacation. I don't know what that is. So in his place, we wanted to have twice as much awesome. So we brought on Magen Wu, Totenkopf on the Twitters, and Fabienne, who goes by FBZ on Twitter. So welcome, ladies, to Breaking Down Security.
Thanks. Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, no problem. So both of you ladies are doing something quite interesting. We wanted to have you guys on to discuss two very different things, but well steeped in InfoSec. I think we'll start with Fabienne's Kickstarter, and maybe you could discuss a little bit about what that is and where you can find the Kickstarter at.
Yeah. So I'm a hardware hacker, reverse engineer, and my big project right now is kickstartering an industrial knitting machine. And the project's called KnitYak, KNITYAK, as in don't yak shave, KnitYak. And it's doing pretty well. We've got about almost a week left to the Kickstarter, and it's at 62% right now.
Very nice. Okay, so you're trying to buy an industrial-sized knitting machine for. Is there a good reason why you're wanting an industrial-sized knitting machine?
Yeah, so I kind of maxed out what I can do with consumer knitting machines, specifically hacked ones, and I wanted to move up, and so this is my way to level up is with this machine. I'm going to be producing scarves that are generated using elementary cellular automata. So the simple algorithm that creates it's a 1D, one-dimensional cellular automata, and it creates a 2D image. Very pixely, very pretty. Uh-huh. And some of the rules are really interesting in nature and in mathematics. Okay.
So this is naturally occurring in nature, is what you're saying?
It's analogous to what naturally occurs in the wild. So, for example, on seashell patterns, so the way that the enzymes form along the lip of the seashell, the way they form the pattern that you see on the shell, that's very similar to some of the rules that are part of the 256 rules.
There's 256 of them.
Yes, some of them are mirror images of each other, though. So I think there's something like 114 unique ones or something like that.
Okay, and we've discussed this at some length, and you've had quite a bit of media saturation, which is good on you. They mentioned Turing Complete. I had to go and research this, and as I told Megan, I started reading on it at about 11 p.m. before I went to bed, and about 4 a.m. I finished up figuring out what all the big words meant. So maybe you could give us an idea what Turing Complete means.
Sure. Turing Complete means a system that's capable of universal computation. It means you could make an arbitrary computer program out of it. Mm-hmm. And in InfoSec, we don't want things to be Turing Complete. You don't want your web app to be Turing Complete. You don't want your specification to be Turing Complete, because that means your attack vector is huge. It means you have like a massive attack surface because it's capable of universal computation, so somebody can hack the heck out of you.
Okay.
Clear as mud?
Absolutely. Feel free to jump in anytime, Megan, because I'm feeling mighty stupid again. This is, as most people who listen to the podcast know, I'm dense on a few things. One being code development and security of code and algorithms and encryption. if it isn't AES and CBC and AES 256, it's kind of all over my head. So, do you want to add anything, Megan, so that I can get some clarification? And do you you said you just bought a scarf, right, on the Kickstarter just before we started?
Before we started recording.
Okay. So are all these scarves the same when you buy them?
No, every single scarf is different. So I'm keeping a database of all the different scarves and who purchases which scarf to make sure that nobody gets the same scarf. So not only will you have different generations of one rule, for example, Rule 110, which is the one that has been proven to be Turing Complete, but you could have, I don't know, Rule 30 or Rule 90, which is the same as Sierpinski triangle. So it's the analogous to the way that you would build a Sierpinski triangle is Rule 90. And yeah, there's all different kinds of rules. Some people some people love XKCD, so they want Rule 34 because they want Rule 34 of Rule 34.
Ah, yes. So wait, how do you spell the Sierpinski? How do you spell Sierpinski?
Sierpinski or KI.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, there's going to be.
Pretty sure he's Polish.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I've seen that one before. I just didn't know they called it that. All right. Yeah, if you do a Google image search for the Sierpinski triangle. Okay, so it's like triangles inside triangle. It's almost like a fractal, isn't it?
It is a fractal. It's a very basic fractal.
Look at me. What? I know simple maths. Yeah, is a fractal an attractive fixed set with the overall... I'm looking at Wikipedia, so that's where I end up starting a lot of my research. So
I'm totally Google imaging stuff on my phone while she's talking, so I'm like, oh yeah, I totally know what you're talking about.
Thanks for helping out there, Megan. That's great.
Good looking at it.
I'm totally not helping you, so I'm going to let you swing out here on your own.
I think just to tie it back to InfoSec, I think what's really fun is that when something's Turing Complete means that it's very attackable. So something I think of is, the inputs, like when you're coding inputs for your web app or for your application. If you don't code your inputs properly, people can craft malicious things.
Okay.
And they can craft way more malicious things if your system is Turing Complete. So it's kind of like the maximum. It's a thing called the Chomsky hierarchy. So way on the outside is Turing Complete. It's like the worst you could be, or the maximum you could be, because it's capable of universal computation.
Did you go to school, like college and stuff? Because
I did. I have a math degree, but I actually got into all of this a lot later.
I failed algebra, so. I don't even know how to spell hierarchy. This is a big pity party for me today, folks, I guess, because I'm obviously in presence of somebody way smarter than me. So No, really, yeah, because I'm still not understanding how a web application that is Turing Complete can be Turing Complete.
Well, the input, so like that your crafted input, like the way that your inputs are crafted, can be Turing Complete. So there's a really cool project called Hammer. Yeah, and it's on GitHub under Upstanding Hackers. Okay. It's an open source project to teach people how to code using a style called Langsec. And, that is a project by a whole group of people, including Meredith Patterson and TQ Hirsch and Sergey Bratis and various other people. And they have put together basically libraries of how you can write well in a whole bunch of different languages, how you can craft your inputs well and keep them as far away from being Turing Complete as possible. So very, very low down on the Chomsky hierarchy. And it's a really cool project. Yeah. And it's not the way you learn to code. If you went to school or even if you taught yourself to code, this is going to be like turning your world upside down. But it's really good, and it's really important, I think, for computer security for people to be aware of Langsec.
So if I do Langsec and do this Hammer that they're speaking of, I could actually learn how to program in a. Is it easier to learn than doing a typical or a traditional programming method? Or?
No, it's really counterintuitive, and so they kind of spell out how all the building blocks kind of fit together. It's kind of like thinking about things upside down. Like if you learned reverse Polish notation, like if you code in Lisp or Clojure or something.
Okay.
It's kind of like turning your world upside down. So if you're not used to doing things in that direction, it's a little bit of a learning curve.
Okay, but for somebody who's never actually coded before or has, not actually done it for a living, this could be you wouldn't know any way different, right? You could actually do it this way and not learn any. Okay. Maybe I'll give that a try because, learning from K&R books just ain't working for me. So, maybe I'll learn it from this way. So.
The K&R's the Bible.
I know. I've got it sitting right up there. I see it right there. C programming language, K&R. Yeah.
And just like the Bible, it hasn't been touched in like 10 years, right?
Exactly.
Probably longer than 10 for the Bible. Anyway.
Sorry.
And changing subjects. So you're on Kickstarter. You are. So how much money are you expecting to need for this thing? You're looking for a specific model of this fabricator, right?
Yeah. The industrial knitting machine is really pricey, and so my minimum break even on Kickstarter is $100,000.
Okay, and that's for the base model.
That's the base model, and it's a refurb model. It's not even new.
Oh my. Okay.
That's with the cost of the yarn, the cost of shipping, Kickstarter fees, local taxes, use tax, the payment provider fee, and a very, very small amount for rent, like less than $400 a month for 6 months.
So where's this
for where I put
at?
the machine? Yeah, I'm gonna have to put the machine in a light industrial building because it's.
Wow, what are we talking? 3-phase power or something?
Yeah, I have to have 220. So.
Oh my god. Okay, all right. Why don't you just put it in your data center right next to your rack or something?
Yeah, I wish I don't have a data center anymore. That's my ex job.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, and when does it end? Will people be able to pick up one even after it's over, or?
Well, if it's successful, they will be able to. If not, no.
Oh, okay.
So if it's successful, it ends on July 23rd at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so almost like 6 days from today.
All right. So are there any sites that I can go to understand how the Turing Complete thing would make my web application suck? Because as you heard, well, as Megan and Miss Fabs found out before, there's a good chance that web application testing could be back in my future. So I was hoping that maybe perhaps there's a site I could, look at to understand that. Why?
Yeah, there's some great talks that are free online from both Meredith Patterson and Sergey Bratis, where they go into Langsec, kind of like an intro to Langsec, and then they drill down specifically how it affects stuff that you code.
Sergey Bratis. I know that name. Where have I heard that from?
Yeah, he's at Dartmouth.
Just Dartmouth. Okay, well, that's the only person you could find. Somebody from Dartmouth, I guess.
He's big in the hacker scene, so he's one of us.
Okay, very nice. Maybe he could come on the podcast and talk stupid, make me feel stupid on that one too. Anyway, all right. No, it's really. I mean, this is foreign territory for me, but it's something that I would not have known had you not have come on. So that's great. So, already got like tons of homework to do with Langsec and understanding Turing Complete stuff, and so that's nice. So, wait a minute, was this you got a okay? So you put down here on the show notes a steganography hat. What's that all about? Yeah,
I made a hat that uses knitting patterns. That where you can actually hide data in the knitting pattern.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that looks kind of cute. I might get one of those.
Yeah. So it's basically it's a triangle of noise. It's just a pseudo-random triangle of pixels, and then it's mirrored and rotated around to make it look like a Scandinavian knitting pattern. So it just looks like a regular knitting pattern, and you don't realize that somebody's hiding data in it.
Nice.
Oh. And the hat. Yeah, and the hat's reversible, so you can actually hide your private information inside if you're going through somewhere that has cameras and stuff, which is pretty much everywhere nowadays.
And this is this for something like if you already have a knitting machine, you could learn how to make the pattern, or can I send you my password and you could put it in my hat?
Yeah, both of those are possible. I released the pattern for free on my Ravelry page, which is like a knitting social media page thing.
Oh, I bet my friend Davinia would like that. She's big into knitting too. Okay.
And I'm FBZ over there as well. On Twitter, on Ravelry, pretty much everywhere.
Very cool. All right.
And she actually brought the hat over to CSEC East. It was actually really cool to look at.
Yeah.
Wow. Megan, what is CSEC East? I do not know what that is.
Well, thanks for asking, Brian. So yeah, CSEC East is basically a monthly get-together of local information security professionals over on the east side of the Puget Sound area. So like Bellevue, Issaquah, Kirkland, stuff like that.
All right. East side. All right. So, I only know about it because I'm a co-organizer. We actually thought about that at last year's B-Side Seattle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a good idea. Except next month, everybody's going to be at DEF CON and Black Hat, so it's just going to be me, and
yeah.
Sad.
I'll be at DEF CON for the first time since DEF CON 18.
Yay!
Very nice.
And the only time before that was DEF CON 10. So last time I skipped 8 years, and this time I'm only skipping 5 years. So
there you go.
So it's getting smaller. So next time you'll only skip like 2 years.
It's true.
Yep. Okay. So let me see. So we talked about CSEC East, which, kind of got that in there. That was good. I was thinking about doing like lightning talks or something at the next CSEC, but since there's only going to be like, me and I think one of the guys are SVP to,
You could try to educate the waiters or something.
Wow. Well, it's maybe I'll leave an obelisk and, Spake Zath Astra or whatever.
Nice.
So, all right. So we have Megan on because she was going to be our co-host this week, and she's doing quite a good job. You are going to college for a degree in why don't you explain what your degree is on before I screw it up?
So, my degree is it's formally a master's in organizational psychology.
That's
basically how we work together in groups in like companies and other various sized organizations. And so I get a lot of screwed up looks because they're like, why are you going for a psychology degree instead of like a business degree so you can be a CISO, or a computer science degree to be like a better security person? And I laugh at them at that last one, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. You're not going to learn anything not in a university at this point.
Oh my God, no. And that's like a whole huge rant. I think I ranted at you, Fabienne, during CSEC about that because it's just awful. But so psychology, because I'm interested in behavioral sciences and using the methods that they use to study behavior in different group dynamics, and then applying that to kind of create a culture of security, if you will. So I totally stole that phrasing, security culture of security from Kai over across the big salty pond. I forget where he is. I think he's like in the Netherlands or something.
Does he have contact information? Because this culture of security thing is something that should be done in almost every company. I believe this is it's ubiquitous. I think it needs to happen, and breeding a culture of security is doesn't happen overnight, and obviously it fails in many organizations.
Yeah, and his name is Kai Rower, Roer, and it's Kai. He's on Twitter.
Okay.
And yeah, like I would definitely send him a message and talk to him because he's really big into security culture. And so what I want to do is research. Initially, I want to research why we do certain things and habit formation and stuff like that. And then move on to how we learn things so we can kind of figure out why our users do the stuff that makes us so angry, and then to get them to stop it. Right?
Okay.
Because if we can get them to create secure habits that they do at home, they'll automatically bring it over to work, right? Yeah. So that's one part. And then also I'm interested in learning theory and stuff like that because, like I just said, there's really not a lot of good programs for teaching and learning security, because we kind of learn a different way and pick things up differently than a lot of people. So the whole read a book and then take a test thing doesn't work for our industry.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, I know that when I do, I know that a lot of end user security trainings are, it's more of they build them and you spend several thousands of dollars on them, and they can either be flash videos, which I've actually gone through end user training with flash videos, or it's a series of slides where people talk and you can just fast forward through them to the end, take 10 questions, take them over and over and over until you pass, and then you don't have to worry about it. So
exactly,
you don't get anything out of it.
Right. And then there was also a really good study a couple of years ago that talked about, those banners that pop up when you first sign on to your computer. It's like, don't do bad things on your work computer, and you click OK. Mm-hmm. Well, after a while, it just becomes white noise and users don't even think about it, and they just click through.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a waste.
Yeah, when I worked on government computers as a civilian and in the military and whatever, it was just like you hit enter to pass through it, and then would it be better if you all of a sudden made it where it was random, where you actually had to seek out the OK button or use the mouse, or maybe changed up the startup message once in a while so that the color or something. If people settle into a rhythm, then you want to break that rhythm up, right?
Right. And that goes back to habit formation, right? So think of it as like you're eating popcorn. So they did a study where habitual popcorn eaters, even if it's really gross, stale popcorn, if you sit in front of them and then they sit in a movie, they'll sit there and eat it all, no matter how it is, the quality, etc. But if you made them switch their dominant hands, so if they're used to eating with their right hand and you make them eat with their left hand, since you're breaking up the habit, right, because they're using a different hand, they end up eating less popcorn. So maybe that's definitely a possibility.
So this works a lot with like social engineering too, wouldn't it? Because people get into a specific rhythm, whether it be like a guard or something. The guard sees you come through the door, he's going to stand up and go, "What are you doing here?" Whatever. If you can figure out how to break that up and make him go off of his script, can you gain a foothold, or make him want to do things he doesn't necessarily want to do? Like you mentioned the popcorn thing. If he's having to use his right hand now instead of his left hand, maybe his brain will be malfunctioning.
Right, you kind of catch them off guard. It's kind of like the social engineering trick of you walk up to a person and you go, "Oh, hey, it's so good seeing you again." And then they give you that scared deer in the headlights look like you give to people in conferences. And you're like, "Okay, I should know this person, but I don't know this person." And that's a really common way that folks can gain rapport and get them to trust you and do stuff or give you information they may not have originally wanted to give you. And Aaron Crawford over in Lairs, he that's how you pronounce Nickerson's company, right? Lars?
Chris
Lairs?
Nickerson? Yeah, Lares, right?
Yeah. I feel like a jerk not knowing how to pronounce his name. But one of his employees is really big into the social engineering thing, and he was going on about different methods, and he tweets about different social engineering methods, and giving something to people also is a great way to build quick rapport. He mentions if you offer a piece of gum.
Wow.
Okay.
Just something small, right?
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got so many people I got to follow now. I got rid of about 900 folks, and now I've got to add a bunch of other people because you keep bringing up all these cool people that I need to know and say, "Hey, be on my podcast." So,
if you want, I can post it in the chat.
Yes, please.
So you can put it on your show notes if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay.
We'll definitely have the show notes posted to the podcast so that you can check out all these interesting links. God, there's a lot of links. There's a lot of links. Okay, so I've been remiss. I did not properly introduce our guests. So, Fabienne, maybe you could explain what you do, and other than knitting, creating industrial-sized knitting machines from Kickstarters.
Sure. So I'm a hardware hacker. I do reverse engineering. My last full-time job, I worked as a sysadmin building storage clusters for a managed hosting provider in Germany. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I've been a developer. I've been a technical project manager. I've project managed InfoSec stuff where we did, SCADA pen testing for clients. I've done all of it. I haven't done everything. I haven't done everything, but I've done a lot of different things.
Now, you mentioned being a project manager. Now, that is something that I'm lacking in. I don't know if it's because I don't consider what I do to be project management. I just kind of hound people with emails about asking for status until they answer me or they finish the project. Is there any specific method by which you do your project management? Is there any kind of methodologies that you follow? My wife, who is a super ultra mega program manager, she's done portfolio, she's done technical, she's done a bunch of stuff for a small company in Redmond, small company,
very small.
Yeah, she follows. Yeah, nobody's heard of it. I couldn't even mention the name without anybody looking it up. So she uses the PIM box. She goes by the PMP Institute. Is there a specific guidance you follow, or is there a methodology that you follow when you're doing pen testing, or do you follow the PIM box as well?
When I was doing technical project management for pen testing, it was like herding cats. So there wasn't really a specific set anything. The other thing that was interesting is that I was the only remote person on the team. Mm-hmm. And I was on site for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. Okay. And the rest of the time I was 6 time zones away. So wow. It was a little interesting. No, 9 time zones. I was in Germany and they're in Seattle. So
all right.
Yeah, it was an interesting project. It ended up working out. It's fine. For my other stuff where I've done technical project management, I've been mostly on site. Some of it's been remote, but then it was a fully remote team where nobody's in the same place. Mm-hmm. And then we just did, we were just constantly on chat or, on Jabber or IRC, and then constantly in contact with each other and emails and everything. And then when I've done it for a team where I'm local and they're local and we're all in one place, I've done everything. I've done Kanban, I've done Scrum, I've done traditional waterfall, I've done everything you could think of.
Yeah. So you've gone
I'm old. That the only reason I've done all of those things is because I'm old. No. And I've been through a lot of jobs.
No, that's not true.
It's true. It really is true.
No. So do you find that when you're working remote with an entirely remote crew, the communication is important, or is it more like okay, you know what you have to do, go and do it, and let me know when you're done? Oh
no, the communication I would say actually works a lot better when everybody's remote. The communication is rough when there's some people that are remote. There's some parts of the team are together, and then there are remote members. That's very hard.
Oh, FOMO, fear of missing out. The folks who are remote aren't as always in on the conversation, so they miss things.
Yeah, well, and if everybody's remote, everybody's communicating through an online medium.
That's true. Yeah,
and so it's kind of required because otherwise you wouldn't be able to talk to any of the members of your team. So
yeah, no, that's true. Okay, so I mean, have you ever had anything go wrong with a remote team where you could have where there was an issue with somebody not pulling their weight? It's like,
oh yeah, constantly, and also with local teams. I mean,
can you see that pretty quickly? I mean, do you just notice the guy is shifty and he's just not doing anything? I mean, can you tell by body language? I mean,
body language online?
He has like
Well,
CIs on web conferences, you know.
yeah, or he's not in the IRC channel for long periods of time, so you know that he's probably not at his desk, that kind of thing.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've dealt with is, there's kind of like a constant stream of deliverables. There isn't really like a 2-week period where then you come back and you deliver something.
Okay.
It's kind of like continuous.
Yeah.
Development, if you want to call it that, or continuous hacking, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not there. So you can tell pretty quickly. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Project management's just been one of those things that I've never actually had the opportunity to do. I mean, I take trouble tickets and I, ask people, how long this will take and whatever, but I never actually, I don't do the Kanban and all that stuff. I'm actually more just watching, and I'm a spectator or actually in a meeting where I have to deliver something. So hopefully in the near future, I will figure out how to do that or get involved with something that would allow me to do that, because I think it's something that every InfoSec person needs to understand is the other side, because we just see it from mean project manager telling me what to do. Sometimes, at least it is in my case, and you never get to see the other side of the coin in that case.
Sure, I mean the other thing is I've only ever done technical project management, so a lot of the time I was also coding part of it or reverse engineering part of it. So I was also another, technical member on the team and not just doing project management, which is a little bit different because I've also worked with people who did program management and project management that weren't technical, or at least weren't specifically technical in what we were trying to build or break. Mm-hmm. And that ends up being a little bit more of a problem.
Yeah. So do you think it's important for the PM to actually know what's going on, or do you...
Well, the PM has to be able to read code. The PM has to be able to drill down in exactly what's being delivered. Because otherwise you're just like waving hand. You're just like a human calendar then.
Okay. So project management in your case is more hands-on than just, resource management and making sure that people get the manpower they need and being the S filter for the upper, between the upper level and the rank and file.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I wish more people shared that view, though, because a lot of times the people who do become project managers are basically what you were saying are human calendars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's not good for them either. They get treated really badly too. So exactly. And I don't think it's useful. That's my point.
Yeah. So you think PMs would do well by getting psychology degrees like Megan's getting, because they understand people, they can read people, so they know when they're lying or when they're not telling the truth about when a deadline will be, or do you think it just comes with knowledge and experience?
I mean, like I said, I had there were always deliverables that had to be there, and if somebody's not pulling their weight, you can see because they're not. Either they're not turning in the code or they're not contributing to the code base. So you can see that pretty quickly. It's not it's not like somebody who you're like waiting a week to see if they're going to deliver something. It's like, no, right away.
The commit log has not been updated by you in a couple days. WTF.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Megan, how many more years do you have left on your degree? Because, you're doing psychology, right? So that must be like a 12, 15-year degree or something,
Just 2 for my master's.
Right on.
Yeah, and it's all self-paced. So, how many courses I take is self-paced. I'm just finishing up the prereqs for the main program. So, right now, I'm getting into some statistics stuff, but it's not just a regular statistics course. It's statistics and how it's used in behavioral sciences.
Okay.
Yeah. So how you choose your sample, why you would choose one sampling method over the other, stuff like that.
I didn't even know there was multiple sampling methods.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you have to make sure you have a truly random or as random a sample as possible, or maybe not as random a sample depending on what your project is about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
random sampling is just one method, but it is preferred.
Yeah, yeah. And then you got your double blinds, and I'm sure you have to figure out all. So it's interesting. I wonder why people get. You hear about people doing surveys or whatever, and you say, surveys are not scientific. Well, you could make them scientific if it was truly a random enough sample, right?
Right. If it was a random enough sample and a large enough sample so that it could be generalized into the population.
Yeah. So there must be like a minimum number. It's like when I did my CISP courses a long time ago, they were like, with 23 people in the room, the chances of somebody having the same birthday is X. So there must be a minimum sample number that will give you a good cross section of, say, the United States. So it's like 450 people will give you a good cross section of the United States.
Yeah, probably. But also, you will have to think about your goal of your research and your research experiment. So, say I'm interested in user awareness training, right? I want to study the effectiveness of user awareness training, which right? But anyways, what I would do is, so this would be like strata sampling. So I would choose an organization that's large enough where I could then identify my strata, which would be the different departments, and then choose a random sampling from each department.
Okay.
So that way I could say, okay, well, the results from this department might be indicative of every finance or accounting department, or HR is similar to what I can expect from the general population of people in HR,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Yeah. So you're learning all this as part of your psychology degree, and how do you plan on taking your degree and using it? You said you'd mentioned that people are like, whoa, you want to be a CISO, or you want to be, how are you wanting to use that in your current degree or your career track?
So I think to start out, I would want to go to a company and try to take over their user awareness training program, and then just study the effectiveness of that, and then try to tweak it over time to see if it works better. And then you can branch it out to things like phishing. So my final project for my last course was figuring out if decision fatigue impacts the likelihood of success for a phishing campaign. And there's a whole bunch of different articles that actually indicate there's a high chance that it could, because people are more likely to open up their emails and click on the links and fill out their passwords in those forms, in those phishing forms, like Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9 o'clock when they get the most amount of emails.
Interesting.
And that's a finding, like Tuesday to Thursday morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I forget who posted it, but it was in an article not too long ago, like in the last year or two.
Makes you wonder if the spammers actually read that kind of research too.
I don't know, but it would make sense to, right? And then it would make sense for our blue teams to do that too, so they could say, all right, well, we're going to do our user awareness training on phishing and tell them not to click the link, and then we'll wait till, a couple weeks or a month, and then send it out Tuesday morning at about peak traffic time, kind of co-conspire with our network team to see when the most email traffic comes in. Send out our phishing emails and see how many people click the link.
Nice.
Because, there's like a theory that we only have so much like psychological resource to make decisions and like to make good judgment calls. And that slowly fades over time until you recharge it by like eating lunch or taking a walk around a park or something like that.
Okay.
Wow.
So you mentioned you would go into a company and take over their end user education program. What if I've seen that a lot where they've outsourced their stuff? So you would probably want to find a company that actually does nothing but training, or would you suggest to a company, hey, you need to bring it back in house?
Uh, I would probably start out by finding a consultancy who would let me do mad science on their customers. Right.
Nice. Yeah, no, that makes sense too. You gotta. Plus, you have to find somebody who's willing to take that chance with you. Because that would be
Right.
that sounds like very I wouldn't say virgin territory, but it's definitely unfamiliar territory for a lot of people, even infosec companies.
Yeah, and then once I figure out like the methodology there, then I would probably turn my eyes onto like a bigger picture, like I was talking about, working with folks to develop a more effective information security degree program.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And it wouldn't just be like purely technical, because there's folks who have the technical things down packed, but really, really suck at writing.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Like business writing.
Yeah, or technical writing. Yeah. That'd be me. Yeah.
Like some people, I'm just like, you're not allowed to talk to the customer because you don't know how to email right.
Oh yeah. The people who think they're using text messaging on their Outlook, yeah, that's not good. Yeah. So before we go, of course, Megan works for small vulnerability management software company called Rapid7. I don't know if we can mention that. Can we mention that? Because I can take that out in the editing.
No, yeah, we can totally mention that.
Okay, cool. They don't sponsor us. They might be a product I use at my workplace, but they don't sponsor the podcast. But they're good people.
I'm a fan. I'm happy here.
Well, come on now. Of course, yeah. So
kind of biased.
Yeah, kind of biased. And yeah, you do a lot of training. I actually took your 201 class for Nexpose administrators. It was a really good class. Got totally lost at the end there with all the Ruby stuff, but it was a good class up until that point.
Right.
Yeah, that's my bad though. That's not you. That's not on. That's yeah. So I gave you 5 stars. It's cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So before we go, I know that somehow we're going along. I don't know how that happens. There's a couple of small conferences security-wise coming up. Black Hat, DEF CON, B-Sides Las Vegas. We had Megan on a little while ago do a little 15-minute interview about B-Sides Proving Grounds. How did that end up going? Did you get enough people, enough mentors and whatever?
Oh, it was great. We had a total of 32 people apply, like submit CFPs.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we only had 24 spots. But the folks that we didn't accept, we were able to route their CFPs over to other tracks because they were good enough. They were that good.
Oh, wow.
So I'm really excited about our schedule this year.
Okay. So what can you give us an idea of who we can expect to see talking as a first-timer or, who's the veteran with them?
So as far as mentors go, we have Iftak Amit. I'm awful with names. I butcher them. Nick Percoco, Joe Grand, Wendy Nather, Aaron Jacobs, a whole bunch of awesome folks giving back to the community and mentoring. As far as talks go, we have a couple of really interesting ones. Let me back it up. So last year, it was a really good track. It was mine and Security Moe's first time running the track. Mm-hmm. And this year, it's a little bit different because we have some really super technical talks that we didn't see in our CFPs last year. So it was really interesting to see these first timers be more willing to submit a CFP.
Okay.
So we have a guy talking about radio hacking. And
okay.
What was it?
At B-Sides Vegas you're talking about, right?
Yeah, B-Sides Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So we have a proving ground track where we take first-time speakers and pair them up with a mentor, and they work together to create a talk.
Yeah, I like this model. It's starting to percolate through a lot of conferences now. I really like it.
It's so awesome.
Especially because then it's a lot easier to sit through somebody's talk if somebody's helped them.
Right.
Especially if it's a really interesting subject and you really, really want to know about the subject, but the person has, never given a talk or has no idea that, I don't know. I did a little bit So I lived in Germany for 8 years, and so I was part of the CCC conference and camp and everything there. So I did 2 years ago at Congress, the CCC Congress between Christmas and New Year's. I did the hardware track with 4 other people, and then we had 3 first timers as well. So, each of us took one of the first timers and kind of handheld them through everything, their slides, their presentation, practice, like everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a really great model because, like you said, like you get really interesting new content, but you can also sit through it because it doesn't sound like they're a first time speaker.
Right. But so yeah, we have a pretty good crossroads of talks. So we have like social engineering talks, like talking about misdirection, phishing. One's called like, "Oh my God, I'm tweeting my debit card."
Yes.
Yeah.
There's other more businessy related ones too. So business folks who get bored with Black Hat and come over, they'll have a little something too. So
Cool.
there's things like what is it? Let's get personal about business. There's a talk about that. Searching and implementing, engineering and managing a SIEM solution.
Okay.
So
Very nice.
Then more technical stuff, like I said, like the let's see.
So what's the red team, blue team ratio for that stuff? Or is there a red team, blue team, not necessarily red team, blue team?
It's kind of purpley brown, I guess.
Ew.
Well,
That doesn't sound healthy. It doesn't sound healthy at all.
Well, once you start mixing any color, eventually it turns brown,
That's
like in a
true.
blender.
That's true. Yeah. Unless you add kale to it, then that just runs it. So
Oh, man. Yeah.
nuke that from orbit. Okay.
No, it's so delicious. What are you talking about?
Kale is delicious. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's filthy.
I
And
grow
we're
my
done
own.
here.
I grow my own.
Like what you do is you chop it up and you pan fry it with like some bacon and then throw some
Okay.
curry powder or cinnamon on it. It's so good.
No. Bananas, kale, lemon juice, and water. You will thank me later.
Oh my God, that sounds pretty good, actually.
It's so delicious.
Yeah, I just cook mine for about 3 hours and then throw it away. So I saw that somewhere. It was like the best way to make kale is to cook it for 3 hours on high and then throw it away.
Yeah. I was talking to my dad and he was like, "You eat kale?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's the stuff they decorate a buffet with." I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh,
exactly.
okay."
All
Well,
right.
I'm really looking forward to B-Sides. I haven't been in 5 years, and I was at B-Sides 5 years ago, which was tiny.
Yeah, it exploded.
I'm so excited to go this year and see what's up with DEF CON this year, and yeah, I'm really stoked to see everybody.
Very cool.
And we're gonna have a water balloon fight too at B-Sides.
Wow. Okay.
Just totally random.
I just won't wear silk that day or something that could be ruined.
Right.
Yeah, don't wear wool because that'll
Don't wear my one-off, Turing Complete scarf.
Exactly.
Right. No, please don't.
Yep. So, if Miss Fabs, if people want to get a hold of you, other than Facebook or Twitter, where FBZ, is there a LinkedIn or you have a website or a blog or something?
I have everything. I have LinkedIn. I have a website with a blog.
Okay.
My website's fabienne.us, so it's FABIENNE.us.
All right.
Or if you just search for my first name or FBZ on Google, I'm at the top most of the time.
Very nice. All right. And Megan, how about you? Is there a website or other than, you've got Totenkoph, TOTTENKOPH?
Yep, I misspell it on purpose because, yeah.
That's okay. I understand why. And if you looked it up on Google, you'd understand why too.
Yeah.
So I mean, if people wanted to get a hold of you other than the Twitters, you've got a LinkedIn or something, I'm sure. Yeah,
LinkedIn, Magen Wu. And before you message me about it, no, I am not Chinese.
Oh, really?
It's my husband's last name. I have clients who add me on LinkedIn And in the middle of the like web conference, they're like, "Oh, you're not a Chinese," and I'm like,
Not
what?
a Chinese. Great.
Yeah, well, it's usually like other Chinese or like people from Asia who are like, "You're not a Chinese." I'm like, that like they said that exactly like that like 5 or 6 different times, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I married into it, and they just kind of give me a sideways look.
I'm Chinese in law.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay.
Like, I'm supportive though.
Yeah, exactly. Hoorah. So, and while Mr. Boettcher's on vacation, you can find him on Twitter at Boettcherpwned, BoettCherPwned. I'm at Brian Break. The official Twitter of the podcast is at BreakSec, or you can just use pound BreakSec, BRAKE Sec. Like Miss Fabienne, we're on everything. We have a LinkedIn group, Facebook fan page with about 11,500 likes. So come over there and like us. Tumblr, SoundCloud. Let your friends know. We're on iTunes. Post a review. We do have a Patreon. We appreciate all of our Patreon supporters. If you find value in the podcast that you got tonight, which I know I did because I'm about to learn a whole ton of stuff on Chomsky hierarchies and such, which I didn't know until this point. And it's Noam Chomsky. I've heard of that guy. I didn't realize he actually had a thing other than just being famous for his name. If you've got value, just hook us up on Patreon. We'd appreciate it. And Cyber IT, I'm pretty sure that, they do some decent training if you're looking for, help with your IT group to teach them security topics and, basic understanding of various things like Metasploit or Python or something. Get on over there, Cyber IT. We sponsor them and they sponsor us. We have an official forum over there. So that's something you can always do. So that was it for this week of Breaking Down Security. Next week, Mr. Boettcher will still be gone on vacation, and we will have 2 new guest hosts, but I'm definitely going to have both of them back because we didn't nearly have enough time for any of what we were talking about to go into any more depth, and we definitely need to do that. So thank you, ladies, Megan, Fobs, for joining us. Come back soon, please. Please, please, please.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. All right. That was it, everybody. Have a good week. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.